That begs the question, can you explain how the Davis-Stirling Act kind of came into being?
Well, in the 1960s is when HUD, FHA, they started backing, they decided they were going to back this concept called condominiums. And so condominiums started taking off and around the country. And in the 60s, a slow start, and then ramping up in the 70s, and then the early 80s, just a huge amount of construction involving common interest developments. So not only condominiums, but planned developments and various other forms of common interest developments. And there was no body of law that governed them. And a professor out of San Diego, a law professor, Catherine Rosenberry, approached her assemblyman, Larry Sterling, and said, we really need to do something about this, growing industry of common interest developments, and there needs to be some body of law dealing with it. And so he eventually agreed and said, okay, then let's float a bill. And thus they put together a group of attorneys and managers, management companies, CEOs, and developed what became the Davis-Stirling Act. And what's interesting is that as it was going through the committee process, it was the Stirling Act. And the future governor of California, Mr. Davis, Gray Davis, was chair of the housing committee and called him in and said, well, we need to adjust the bill in order to get it passed.
Just the name?
And so it was the name. And in fact, Mr. Sterling said, okay, do you want to call it the Sterling-Davis Act? He goes, no.
No.
So it became the Davis-Stirling Act.
Savvy politician.
Yeah. And then Gray Davis went on to become governor of California. Larry Sterling then went on to become a senator, state senator, and then was appointed to the bench and became a judge. And was a judge for a number of years before retiring and then joining our firm. And so that's how the act came about. And what's interesting is it was not that much in the initial draft, and that was it went into effect January 1 of 1985. It has been amended every single year since then and has grown significantly. And in 2014, it had become so large that they needed to reorganize the entire body of law. And they renumbered everything, broke it all up into more numbers, made it easier to find material. And in 2014, relaunched it again as the Davis-Stirling Act.